All right. Hello, fellow dog people, and welcome to another episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast, the show that talks to musicians about their dogs and the positive impact these creatures bring to our lives. I'm your host, Tim Dill. The positive impact on my life is Charlie, my golden doodle, and today we are happy to bring you our conversation with Luke Lalonde and Mitch DeRosier of the band Born Ruffians, who will be releasing their much-anticipated new album, Beauty's Pride, on June 6th via Yep Rock Records. And these are their polar opposite, rocker dogs.
My dog's names are Putty, as in silly putty, and Rupee, or Roo. We call her Roo more often. Yes. Putty is 5, and Roo is 3.
Okay. And Mitch, how about you? Who are we speaking of today?
My dog is Charlie, and he's turning 10 in less than 2 weeks on the 25th.
Oh, wow.
So actually, by the time this is out, he'll be 10, which is weird.
Well, I start every show pretty much by going back to how these dogs came to be into your life. So let's go back 10 years into your life and the band's life. What's the context of Charlie entering, your life?
Yeah, 10 years ago, I guess. Yeah. So we had a dog. My partner grew up with a dog. And when he passed, it took us a while to kind of be like, okay, I think we're ready for a dog. I think it was probably like 3 or 4 years before we felt like we could have a dog again. And it's weird to think of that time because he is so such a huge part of our lives that thinking of a time where it's like we're together without a dog, weird. It's like this weird other time that doesn't feel real. But yeah, so that was about 10 years ago. We got Charlie, and my first memory of it's related to the band with him was we got him, and then it was a month or two, and then we went on tour for 6 or 7 weeks, which is a awful time when you have a puppy. He's just so small, but also you're so excited to have a dog again. And it was just, on the road, slugging it out there in the winter months of North America.
Now, the break you took between dogs, was that an emotional break? Was that because there was so much heart and soul invested in the dog that unfortunately passed away, that it took that amount of time to kind of be ready again?
Totally. Mickey, he was a West Highland Terrier, and my partner, grew up with him. So it was her first dog was everything to her. And I only got to know him later in his life for about 4 years or so. And an amazing dog. And it's just so personal to her that it's it took so much out of her to be it felt too difficult to get a dog that soon. But once we felt good and ready, then we went and grabbed Charlie.
Yeah. And was Mickey an introduction to you into living with a dog, or did you also have dogs growing up?
Yes. Yeah. I had a cat growing up, so I didn't have a dog. And I feel like a lot of people draw that line of cat person or dog person. And I'm surprised I was never ever, I guess, branded a cat person growing up, even though I loved my cat. But it was one of those things I never had a dog growing up. But I feel like I was changed. If I was on one side or the other, I guess I've gone more to the dog realm now.
Right. It's funny, I grew up with a cat as well. And I felt like I would beg it for attention. I just want attention. I want you to, interact with me. So once I got exposed to dogs, I was like, oh my God, this is great. They love me. I don't need to fight for its affection.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Luke? Your Instagram is a little limited in giving me information, but I do have a little bit of background, and you seem to have an interesting story about how Putty and Roo came into your life.
Yeah. I also a cat guy. I grew up with 3 cats, and I never had a dog. I didn't understand dogs. It took me a little bit to understand the body language and all of the ways they communicate versus cats. But basically within an hour of getting a dog, it was okay, I get it. And Putty, yeah. So Putty we got first, and I met her at the airport because my wife was flying back from India, where she adopted her from. So we had traveled on and off to India since maybe 2014 was the first time we went, and You see a lot of dogs there on the street. It's like a lot of countries in Asia and a lot of countries in South America and Mexico as well. There's a lot of places in the world, I guess I should say, where dogs are different. You know, they're not as domesticated, or they're looked after by a community, or they're more out on the street. But because they are domesticated animals historically, as we all know, street dogs are kind of in this like limbo place where they know they're like, we need humans, we should be around you guys, but like they're not wild, but it's a really, it's just a different way that they exist in India. But we always thought, what a great adorable dogs they have here. Could we just grab one off the street and take it home? And it turns out that's a little harder than it sounds. But she found a shelter where she was living for a year while she was doing her PhD research in the north of India, that this shelter took in injured street dogs. Most of them are hit by cars or attacked by other dogs because they're very territorial. So Putty was about a month old, and she was attacked by a dog and was found by a man on his way to work who heard her crying and went and found her. And I think she was hiding, and she was covered in blood, and he brought her to this shelter that he knew, and they fixed her up. They try and adopt dogs, or they release them back into the street. And Laura had found the shelter, visited and met Putty, and found her to just be adorable and just like the right dog. And so she went through the process, and the shelter helped a lot with the paperwork and everything. And she flew home with her on her lap. And so I met her for the first time in real life at the airport, and she took a dump on the floor at the airport, and I gave her a treat, and then rode home with her on my lap, and the rest is history. She was tiny. She was just a tiny little puppy when we got her.
Well, before we get into Rue, I have to say, I mean, I'm amazed by these stories that these dogs from literally across the globe can find their way to loving forever homes, you know, in North America. And Mitch, full disclosure, I have a doodle as well. I've got a golden doodle. He's 7 years old, and his name is Charlie. And he hasn't had a tough day in his life, but he acts like he's putting his nose to the grindstone every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did my research, and I knew that fact. I knew that you had a Charlie and he was a golden doodle. And that is not the first time that's happened to me also. Was there something in the ether or whatever where everybody had a golden doodle named Charlie? Because when I went to the vet I think it was around when we were first getting him his shots and stuff, and it was like time to pick him up. And it was like, I'm here to pick up Charlie. And they were like, which one?
Yeah.
Like, well, the golden doodle. And it's like you had to narrow it down even further. It's like he's about 30 pounds. Like, how do I get my dog back?
You need to get
It's like
last names for these dogs.
That's too funny.
Yeah, totally.
Now,
Yeah.
between Charlie, Putty, and Rue, do any of those names have any significance?
So Putty her name was Pari, like Pari was a Hindi word, and in Hindi the R sound in that word sounds like it's like like pati, like it's like a tongue on the roof of your mouth sound.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to call her that, but it just sounded like putty, so we just changed it to putty. And then Rue, we were gonna call her Ruhi, which is like a word that means a flower that touches the heart. Because our initial plan was we found these strays whose we think their mother had died, and they were just this brother and sister. They were this big, and we would feed them every day, and we named them Ruhi and Punchi. We were like, let's try and get these two dogs, and it was too complicated. It's a sad story, but they ended up dying. And when we got Rue, we decided to name her after Ruhi, and then that just again sort of shifted into Rupee, like the Indian rupee.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, let's get to her story. So these two were brought separately.
Yeah. We loved Putty so much, and we knew she's a very sensitive girl, and we wanted to get her a sister or a companion. And we knew that she played well, really well, but we didn't want to risk it and get a dog that was going to attack her or whatever. And we figured the best, safest route was to get a similar breed. And so we got Rue from this very same shelter, but they flew her over. It turns out Laura, my wife, did a DNA test, and it turns out that they're second cousins, I believe.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how they know that, but they are related because they're from the same village, which is kind of cute.
And did I miss the breed? I'm sorry if you said it once before.
Well, in India, it's a recognized breed called a pariah dog or a Desi dog, which I mean Desi just means of the land or of the like it's a native species. It's not a recognized breed here, I don't think, but over there it is, and they are used as like police dogs sometimes.
Okay, interesting. And Mitch, are you privy to the information about, did you ever read the article about the guy who initially crossbred, I think it was a lab and a doodle? So he invented the labradoodle. There's a great New York Times article where he says he regrets it and he opened a Pandora's box because he turned all these breeders across the world loose on the notion that they could take a poodle and crossbreed it with whatever you want, Bernedoodles,
Yeah, I've not read that, but that sounds very accurate. The amount of poodle mixes there are, and I mean, truly great dogs and stuff, but that is every other dog ends in oodle these days, I feel like.
Is that because of the fur, the hair? Because poodles have hair and not fur, so they're supposed to be like less. They're
Yeah, they're
hypoallergenic.
hyperallergenic and no shedding.
Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah, definitely it's easy on the. Oh no, it's all good. That was probably like the start and end of my knowledge on poodle mixes. So
Now, as a doodle owner myself, does yours fit? There's certain cliches. Is it very attached? Does it have separation anxiety?
I want to say no, like yeah, he does, but like not to an extreme sense where we can't leave him at home on his own. As far as I know, right, so far we had a pet cube for a long time where you could keep an eye on your dog when you were gone,
Yep, yep.
and like he was having a hard time, but he's very much like a lap dog at home. More specifically with my partner, like I am definitely the other person who lives here,
Okay.
and Charlie just yeah follow Allie to and fro everywhere he goes. Yeah, he's got that side of him at home, very lapdog, and then when he's around people, he is socially very psyched up to see people. He loves
Yeah.
people more than dogs. Yeah, those are
That,
his two
that's
like two sides of the same coin kind of thing.
yeah. I enjoy that trait with my dog. He very much enjoys anybody who comes in our house. Probably make a terrible watchdog, but outside of
Yeah,
that,
same with my Charlie.
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say Charlie gives hugs. He
Yeah, he's
literally
got that
puts
up.
his
Yeah,
arms up around you and hugs your leg. Not in a hump. He doesn't hump. He
yeah.
hugs. And
That's
it's the
great.
cutest thing. He seems to treat people like dogs. Like he'll like sit and do that thing where you sit and wait, right? Be like, I gotta meet that guy. We gotta wait so I can meet him, right?
yeah,
Which is very funny because yeah, he's very social. He's like, well, everybody has. I think it's like I think Charlie's like that guy has to meet me. Like he's gonna like
yeah.
me. Like
It might be a bit of like only child syndrome going on there because you feel like the world has made for him. Kind of similar to what you're saying about your dog Charlie, where it's just like he's never had a hard day in his life. Same with
Yep.
this guy. Like, yeah, very contrasting Buddy and Ruth's stories.
How has Charlie come to be kind of the face of the band on their socials? Is it simply just a matter of do you handle most of the social posts?
Yeah, that'd be a dead giveaway. I run social media, which just by default, yeah, makes
Okay.
Charlie our band mascot, essentially. For better or worse, I feel like I just can't help it sometimes. I'm kind of like, I love him so much
Yeah.
and just post photos. Whoops, sorry. But I have been, I will say one of the funniest things that's happened is I was recognized for being in our band because someone saw Charlie with me first. They
Right.
recognized Charlie. Is that Charlie from the band Born Ruffians? Oh, there's the guy who's in the band also,
That's
which was
awesome.
a very strange thing to happen, but that's how much I post him, I guess. Whoops.
Well, it's great. I mean, since you do post them, a couple of questions have come out of some of the things I've seen. One is you received some fan art before. I think maybe a fan
Yeah.
in Chicago, it might have been specifically, some really nice drawings. Particular to what you said, do you have fans that approach you and ask you about Charlie? Does Charlie have groupies? I guess is a short question.
I mean, that's one way to put it. I have definitely, I think that's like the most common question I would get after a show from a fan who's like excited to come say hi. They will ask about Charlie, which is very cute, very nice. And I've had, yeah, a fan has given us dog toys.
Hmm.
Yeah, like we said, like some art has been made, and that person in particular who has made a few illustrations of Charlie, which are unbelievable, very sweet. I also then I commissioned another one from her, and I had her do a drawing of both Charlie and Mickey as a gift, which like hangs in our apartment. So very like cool, very touching, personal thing that can happen with this ridiculous job of like touring and playing music, and then you can have that kind of a connection for something that's so personal to you, which you forget
Yeah.
sometimes when you're posting on social media. That, yeah, you are like allowing that piece of yourself out there, and someone can kind of grab on and hand it back to you in that way, which is like, yeah, very, very cool. So
Yeah.
I cherish those drawings.
That's great. It's funny, I just had a recent guest on and I was saying, you got Boston Terrier socks, you got a Boston Terrier sweatshirt, you got a Boston Terrier hat. She's like, I would never buy, I mean, I love my Boston Terrier. I would never buy these things. These are gifts from fans. So it's funny to see
Oh, okay.
that dynamic take shape. I recently just posted something from a guest, Leland Sklar. He's a bass player that's played on, he's been in the business for 40, 50 years. But and he was talking about what the value of a studio dog, how happy a studio dog makes him. And I'm curious how you guys feel about the studio dogs. In one particular post at Palace Sound Studio, there's a corgi named Sadie that you guys gave a shout out to. But what is it about the
Yeah.
studio dog that is it just does it kind of bring you back to earth when I don't know if the pressure's on or people have red light fever or what is it about the studio dog that clicks with you?
I remember that day at Palace when we were recording. Sadie wasn't there the whole time, but it was like her owner came by to check in on things or whatever. And it did like just immediately break up it was not like our studio sessions are very like relaxed in the first place. But
Yeah.
sometimes, you're been working on something for a while and then a dog walks in the room and it just, I don't know, just brightens everything up and everyone's excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a
Well, Corgi.
I think a dog brings this like a dog resets the vibe of a room. Like if
Hmm.
the room has bad energy or tension and a dog walks in, everybody just kind of like resets with the dog because the dog's just like, who cares about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, dogs have it all figured out. Like, if we could all be more like dogs, the world would be a better place. And they just have an immediate effect of doing that to people as a group. It's like some kind of science should study that. It's like proof of a shared consciousness or something because a dog walks in a room and everybody's just like, right. What were we worried about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wind down every show with the Zoomies, and that's 5 fast, frivolous questions. The first one is, do you allow your dogs to lick your face?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
In unison.
It
Good.
almost like you just made it occur to me that there's people who do find that weird, and I guess I can see that.
Yeah. I've gone a spell where it's like 50-50, where it's like, oh, I love my dog, but it's where I draw the line. But it's always nice to, I take your side. Question 2 is, do these dogs have a theme song?
This is so funny because it like when you asked it, I was like, yeah, of course he does. Like yes, he has a song, but I was like, wait, I guess he doesn't.
Okay, I'll jump in then because I looked it up, and then Mitch, you can name yours. Sorry, and I don't know why, but if you play most of Amel and the Sniffers, but Guided by Angels, or Don't Fence Me In, just play that to like Putty and Roo playing. I just feel like that's them. They're both like feisty. They're like her. That's
Yeah.
their energy, I think.
Title says it all.
That's awesome. Yeah, the only one that's coming to mind for me is I love video editing. I kind of do a lot of that for the band. I once made a video for Charlie, and the song I used was I think it's called Charlie Boy by the Lumineers, and
Okay.
it's just kind of like a sweet song that has nothing to do with dogs, but we call him Charlie Boy all the time. So I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So appropriate. Question 3 is, hypothetically, if the dogs went on tour with you, what would they want on the tour rider?
Socks,
Socks?
Charlie
you
loves
said?
socks. Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
It's like your tour rider would be like, tube socks, rolled in a
That would
ball.
work. That works. But honestly, like that's a good rider item for bands and dogs.
He does love socks. Loves the socks.
What about Putty and Roo?
Just a giant, comfortable bed,
Okay.
preferably human size.
Okay.
Like Don Henley. Don Henley and the Eagles, reportedly at their height, had a bed, his bed, set up every night backstage somewhere. Roadies, there were roadies in charge of bringing his bed in, just in case he wanted to have a nap. And he sometimes didn't have a nap. He would just have it fully set up, like a king size bed and bed frame. That's what Putty and Rue would want.
I love it. And on that note, has Charlie ever been on tour? Has he been to gigs? I saw he was working the merch table in one of your posts.
Yeah, he's been to a few of our shows. Yeah, we played a show in Buffalo, so that was like nice and close. Good
Okay.
excuse to visit kind of thing. Been to some outdoor shows of ours. Yeah, definitely like the indoor ones are not as like he didn't spend much. I don't even know if he stayed inside for for that show because it's like for dogs it's loud.
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
loud room to be in. But he's seen us at some outdoor festival kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. Question 4 is, do you guys use a dog voice when speaking to your dogs?
Oh my God, yeah.
Is it the cliched high-pitched baby voice, or do you take some sort of other persona?
It's so involuntary that I don't even know if I can imitate it. But I think it goes high sometimes, but then it's also sometimes more of a like a different character altogether. Like it kind of like I can't
You
for
have to be in the
fear
moment.
of embarrassing the hell out of myself or hearing this back. I don't really know if I want to really go there and try and do it, but yes, I have for sure dog voice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm a lot like Luke, where I don't think I could actually do the voice. If it even is one, like I have to
Yeah.
be in a moment of needing to speak with Charlie. It's
Yeah.
like speaking his own language, the
Okay.
voice that I would do.
Okay. Question 5, last question. I always ask my guests if there's a dog organization or a service you'd like to shout out.
Yeah, I mean, mine's pretty obvious. I'll shout out the shelter we got them from. It's called DAR Rescue, which stands for Dharamshala Animal Rescue. It's it's not a word that anybody's going to intuitively know how to spell necessarily, so I could like send it over, but the website is just DAR Rescue, one R, so darescue.org. And yeah, that's the shelter in North India. It's in Dharamshala, which is actually in the same state in India, or the same town, sorry, where the like exiled Tibetan government is. So it's where the Dalai Lama lives and stuff. It's a really neat part of the country. But if you follow their Instagram and feel like the inclination to send them a donation or something, they do a lot of great work. So I just will shout them out for sure.
Great. And Mitch, not to put you on the spot, I don't know if you have anybody you want to shout out.
Honestly, I would just echo Luke's selection. I think for anyone listening to this, especially like the story of getting Putty and Rue over here, and I find it a very moving story compared to mine, where I just went and bought a teddy bear from somebody. So yeah, I'm gonna amplify Luke's organization.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Well, thank you guys for taking the time and taking me through your dogs and their lives and how intermixes with the band and everything. And I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome, thanks.
My pleasure.
Carl, you're a damn good dog.